Do you believe in alternate universes?
You are listening to Delayed Replay,
The improvised movie review podcast. Wink.
Everything is fine here. We're all fine. Just sit tight and listen to them talk about the movies they definitely saw.
Don't delay. We have to listen right away.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay here on channel 1138. I'm Steven Schinder, your host, as usual. And again, doing some spooky stuff. This time, it's the Forever Purge. And joining me on this one, you've heard their voices before if you've been following the show. It's Dylan and Kiyan from the Decorative Vegetable network thing.
I like how we have a network now, even though it's just all podcasts that we made.
I mean, I feel like you guys have said Decorative Vegetable Network at least once, and it's like, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, we have referred to it as the Decorative Vegetable Network, but yeah, it's a really disappointing network when you realize that the network is just us doing like 4 podcasts.
I've definitely also called our recording studio Decorative Vegetable Towers at least once or twice.
Right, because Faulty Towers was taken, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. John Cleese got there before us. John Cleese is vastly more funny than we are as well, so probably for the better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually didn't realize this until yesterday, but your guys' episodes on the Purge movies on Triple Play, back when you guys numbered them, the first 3 Purge movies, which you guys reviewed as a trilogy, was episode 19, and then the first Purge was 19.5, and this Delayed Replay episode, it's gonna be movie episode 20.
Huh.
It's
Maintaining the numbering scheme.
It's like a trilogy, which maybe you guys will talk about someday when you run out of things to talk about.
Oh my god.
Rapidly getting too meta for me.
Triple Delayed Replay.
Wow.
Deluxe.
Hey.
I don't know.
Wow.
Crossover event of the century.
I mean, hey, it's more of a crossover than Endgame and Infinity War, maybe, because like those are all the same IP, so like, I don't know. But I mean, if you think about it, most podcasts take place in the same universe.
Yeah.
Just one.
Delayed Replay Cinematic Universe when.
Like, what actors would even play us?
Right. Well, I would like Robert Downey Jr. to play Dylan.
He's like in his 50s playing a 20-something.
Actually, I take that back. One of my friends insists that I look like Zachary Levi, so I would like Zachary Levi to play Dylan in the Delayed Replay cinematic universe. Final answer.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, like, who'd play me or who'd play Kiyan.
Yeah, I have no idea who would play me. No one can really encapsulate, my psyche,
Keanu Reeves.
so,
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Oh, God.
I could see the resemblance, when you had your beard and long hair, and when Keanu Reeves has the beard and long hair, I can see the resemblance.
Which he does now.
Steven, I'd have to think about for a little while longer. Steven could be played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, if we're creating... Yeah, sure.
It's just one of those, like, Hollywood casting decisions where, like, the actor totally doesn't look like the person they're playing. like at the end of Chicken Little.
Yeah, but it would be great.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start by talking about like our experiences of previous Purge media. So like what did you guys think of like the first 4 movies and whatnot?
As we were alluding to, Dylan and I watched all the Purge movies, I think for the first time, when we covered them on, Triple Play, our movie trilogy podcast. I personally, I liked them. I think the first one and the fourth one were probably the best. It's an interesting concept carried, pretty well across 4 different movies. And yeah, I hadn't seen them before that or anything.
Yeah, I definitely hadn't seen them before we did our episode on them. And I definitely think that they somehow got 4 remarkably unique movies out of the concept. Was shocked when they announced a 5th one. I was like, how are they going to do that? Because the 3rd one made it seem like the Purge was going to end, and then they just threw a curveball that we're going to do one more. So, I was very interested to see where they were going to take that. I haven't watched the TV show either, by the way. Maybe I should mention that since it's in the same universe.
Yeah, I haven't watched the TV show either. From what I know, it takes place between Anarchy and Election Year, I think.
I believe so.
And I think it got canceled recently.
Yeah, it got canceled after 2 seasons, I think.
Yes. I actually have watched the first season of the TV show, and it takes place in, well, I guess we'll do the timeline after this, but yeah, it takes place between Anarchy and Election Year, and it felt kind of boring at some points because of how soap opera-y it got for much of it. And it's like there were some good ideas in it. It's just like, I know that like the Purge itself is 12 hours long, but like getting 10 episodes that span like that whole night, albeit with flashbacks here and there, like it just felt like a bit much to me. And it's like after watching that season like all together, I was like, this could probably be condensed into a decent movie. I'm not sure that like the Purge concept translated that well into the show. And from what I've heard, season 2 takes place like between purges. Like I guess it deals with like PTSD and like aftermath of one purge and preparing for the next or something, but like follows like a different cast than the first season from what I can tell. But I haven't seen the second season yet. I'm like waiting for it to drop on Hulu at some point. But yeah, I'd seen the first 2 movies back in late 2014 or 2015, because I remember watching them back to back on like DVD or Blu-ray, or maybe it was Netflix or something. And then I didn't watch Election Year and the first Purge until like this year in preparation for the Forever Purge. And I think my rankings of the first movies goes Purge Anarchy, The Purge, the first Purge, and then Purge Election Year. I think they're all, like, they have really interesting commentary, and they're kind of relevant concepts, and, like, sometimes there are horror movies that are just, like, there to, like, give you the thrill of being scared, and some of those can be fun. But the Purge movies, like, Rotten Tomato scores aside, feel to me like they feel to me like those types of horror movies that make you think, like Get Out, Candyman, or even Saw, I would say. So like, I don't know, like I don't think they're as good as those particular movies, but they're still like pretty good, I think.
It's interesting that you call them horror movies, because I don't even know if I would consider them horror movies, really.
Well, they're classified as, like, action, horror, thriller movies, I think.
Jeez, at that point, what's the point of classifying it?
But what? I just, like, look... Okay, it's called dystopian, action, science fiction, horror film.
What's the point? What's the point?
They're in the Purge genre.
Just make it a genre, like the convention genre. That's a callback to your guys' episode on the first Purge.
Gee.
Now, speaking of conventions, we're gonna... Okay, alright, we'll save that for a bit.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right, well, we'll get into that, but first, I guess, I want to say, like, the timeline of, like, these movies. So you get the first Purge, which I think begins in like 2014, and then most of it is in 2017. So like that's when the first purge takes place. What's kind of funny is that there's a Parks and Rec episode that takes place in 2017, and one of the characters announces that she wants to have a purge night. So that was funny. Okay, and then the purge takes place 2022, Anarchy 2023. Season 1 of the show takes place 2027, and then there's like an epilogue that takes place a year later. From what I looked up of season 2, I got different answers. Like, there was something that said it takes place sometime between 2031 and 2040. And then the wiki said it's like 2036 to 2037. So, like, I don't really know, but I guess it's like somewhere in the 2030s. And then election year is 2040, and then we get the election results at the end of that movie in like May of that year, and the Forever Purge takes place like 2 months after that. So it's like dealing with the aftermath of those election results.
Yeah, I really like the realistic timeline that the Purge movies present. Because, you know, a lot of movies, you know, you'll watch like a 70s or an 80s movie, and they'll be like, in the year 2000, and they'll show like flying cars and like chrome cities. But like here, it's just, you know, a future that looks very much like what our world looks like today, which I think is more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, like, Back to the Future Part 2 with its, like, 2015. That totally wasn't the 2015 we got.
Look, they were extremely optimistic, and let's be honest, these movies do present, like, a little bit of a sci-fi timeline. I mean, the first Purge, they literally outfit the entire island with contact lens cameras that relay feeds back to the White House, something that we don't have today technologically 2 years after that. So I mean, I don't know about that whole realistic timeline thing.
You don't have that? I'm wearing mine right now.
It came out in 2018 but takes place 2017, so I guess they were kind of feeding into that whole like, oh, this is an alternate, more slightly scientific universe, I guess.
Also, I just realized I have literally no memory of Anarchy. Like, I just have no idea what that movie is about anymore, but whatever.
Did you purge it from your mind?
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that was the one with the guy and his kid and the, like, family with the shop that gets...
No, that was election
attacked.
Year. That was election year.
Oh, shoot.
With the, like, the guy who worked at the store who was kind of like his adopted son.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
election year? Oh,
yeah.
Jeez.
Do you think there was like a purge night in the alternate timeline where Biff Tannen was like in charge?
Back to the Future and the Purge takes place in the same universe.
Hey, it could.
Yeah, it could.
Imagine if it turns out like that alternate timeline that Marty goes back to just happened to be like Purge night, and normally everything was just fine.
I mean, I've imagined like, what if Back to the Future but Evil Dead? So like Marty would go to the barn and there would be like deadites, and he'd also like in part 3 he'd be like, I think you woke up the dead with that blast, Doc, and then like deadites would come out of the ground. Yeah, I mean, Evil Dead and Back to the Future definitely have some parallels, but anyway.
I mean, you could draw parallels between almost any movie if you want, you know, just by the fact that they have credits that run in the right order, you know?
Yeah, I mean...
So apparently Purge Anarchy was the one with the girl who killed her sister because, like, her sister was sleeping with her husband. And after reading that line on the Wikipedia page, it kind of all clicked into place, and I was like, oh yeah, that was that one.
Yeah, that, like, Ratatouille moment with the flashback.
Oh my god, I have no memory of any of this. But
Great.
It's okay.
Maybe you should have revisited the trilogy before watching this one, Kiyan.
Yeah, probably. Let that be a lesson to everyone else.
Who says the Purge isn't educational? But yeah, I do like the concept of these movies. I mean, Can you imagine it being like late March and the government tells you, oh, you have to like lock up and stay inside overnight to stay safe from like what's outside? Like, I mean, what a concept, you know?
Yeah, it definitely gets you thinking, kind of like you were saying, Stephen, before, of like, you know, what would I do in a situation like that?
You're staying safe at home, and then all of a sudden, door breaks down, Big Finish, open up. It's Purge night.
Yeah, everyone knows Big Finish's private militia just takes advantage of the Purge to the full extent that they can.
I wouldn't be surprised if Big Finish just kicked in my door right now and took me out.
Like, to dinner, or?
Yeah, for a nice dinner. You know, the other day they posted a thing on their Twitter that was like, Big Finish crossover generator, you know? And they might take me out for dinner because I landed on the most genius crossover of all time between Osgood and Nathan Spring from Star Cops.
Oh my god. Wow.
Can you imagine if Big Finish started doing the Purge audios?
You could actually do some really horrific stuff with that, of like, you know, you're just hearing stuff, because you can go all out without having to portray anything visually.
That's true.
Yeah. Speaking of finishing, I thought it was kind of smart that they called this the Forever Purge instead of the Final Purge, because I can't really think of any movie that had the title Final in it where it turned out to be the final one. Because, you know, you had Friday the 13th, a final chapter, and it ended up not being the final one. Then you had Saw, the final chapter, then you got Jigsaw and Spiral, and Final Destination, like, had the Final Destination, and then it got Final Destination 5. And Star Trek, the Final Frontier, was not the final Star Trek.
Yeah, well, that one was more like Space, the Final Frontier, you know, reference to the opening monologue.
Well, yeah. Controversial opinion, but I actually like Star Trek 5.
Oh boy.
I don't know, though. I feel like, you know, they're going to pull something out of their hats sooner or later. I mean, The Purge is a successful enough franchise that it's going to get something else, despite how conclusive this one actually surprisingly was.
Yeah, but I mean, to Steven's point, like, a lot of movies that claim to be final or conclusive, they, you know, a creative enough writer or a writer who's broke enough to accept the job will find a way around anything.
Yeah, I mean, we even had Shrek, the final chapter, and as conclusive as that felt, apparently there's a Shrek 5 in development, or Shrek reboot or something.
Well, that has been in development hell for years.
Yeah, they've been having some Shreknical difficulties. Welcome to the village, Dylan.
I am not a number, I'm a free man.
That's what they all say until they're strapped to a chair and forced to watch Shrek on repeat.
If I got kidnapped by the
straight.
village and they just made me watch Shrek on repeat, I would just tell them what they want to know, like, instantly. I'd be like, just make it stop, please.
The village from The Prisoner on lockdown during the Purge. Gotta stay inside.
You could
check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast.
Oh, hell yeah. Plugging our content, as always. I was gonna say, like, you could do a pretty good Purge movie with, like, the village, because it's a small, isolated location, you know, kind of what they seem to be going for in this movie a little bit. Getting away from the main cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like, they do start with this scene at San Diego Comic-Con, but much of the movie kind of moves away from the city setting. Like, you kind of get both sides, and it shows you, like, different facets of it. But, I guess getting right into it, what'd you guys think of this opening scene at San Diego Comic-Con?
Well, personally, I kind of liked how it spoke to like the like disastrous consequences that, you know, city planning and, you know, civil engineering and all that can potentially have. Like, these people are packed in like sardines, and, you know, when they start getting purged, it's just chaos all around. There's no way out, and it's just insanity.
Yeah, and I mean, you have cosplayers, and, you know, some of them might have masks, and it's like, oh, you don't know which of these people might still support the NFA even after the executive order to put an end to the purge. And it's like, there's still people around who want to continue the purge forever, even in light of like what the law says.
Yeah, and it really sort of sets up this thing where you could get like, you know, anyone anywhere could get like purged flash mob style, like, you know, you don't know when they're in your midst type thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just that one night on like March 21st anymore. It's like these people who strongly believe in the purge and want it to keep going are just doing it at random, which in a way is even scarier than like if it was just contained on a one specific night.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and sort of, I guess, I don't know, when I first heard that, like, oh, it was going to have this big opening at Comic-Con or whatever, I didn't really know what to think. You know, I thought it was going to, you know, be humorous, but really, like, how it's executed, it's not. It's, you know, it's more uncomfortable than anything and horrific.
Yeah, I mean, you do see, like, these Marvel and DC and Star Wars cosplays and whatnot, and so I guess they had to, like, get permission from different licensees and whatever. Weird seeing, like, all these iconic characters, but then, like, when stuff goes down, it doesn't feel, like, unintentionally funny to me. It feels, like, horrific because it's like, whoa, this could happen. This feels real. This could happen in real life, and this is what it would look like.
Yeah, I mean, having been at Comic-Con, like, the potential for all this to go down at any moment was very real. You know, you pack everyone into a giant convention hall and they all want to get into X, Y, and Z. Everybody becomes very easy targets if you want to, you know, pull something off.
Right. And this may surprise you guys, but I've lived in San Diego for much of my life, but I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con.
SMH, not a true San Diego fan.
I mean, I moved away from San Diego, so I have been to WonderCon once and Star Wars Celebration twice now. Check out the Star Wars Celebration episode in the feed, but yeah. And it's like, after going to those, it's like, I feel like I'm not missing that much from not going to Comic-Con, because, like, I've had my fill at these other conventions. Especially with Celebration, because, like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and it's like, that's my bread and butter right there.
Yeah, I've never been to anything. I don't know. And I don't want to. Probably
Do you know, like, the convention genre?
Yeah, exactly.
Should have titled this Purge Convention or something. I don't know. But it also kind of felt to me like the beginning of, I mean, I know you guys have not seen this, but the beginning of Saw 7, which was supposed to be the final chapter, where it's like, people are like in a mall and there's like this trap that's like on public display, and there's something about it that feels very theme parky to me, like kind of gimmicky. In that instance, though, it felt kind of silly to me, whereas here it felt like realistic. I guess because like, a trap like that would be kind of not as believable, but I digress.
Mm-hmm. What did you guys think about where it went from there? Because I think, you know, before the movie came out, like, we all knew that this one was going to be moving away from the urban setting that we'd kind of seen in Anarchy and Election Year. But I don't think they revealed, or it was unclear whether it was going to be like suburban, like the first one, or, you know, what was going to happen. But what did you guys think with like where they actually went with it?
So it was kind of weird for me seeing familiar places like Sunset Cliffs. You know, you get a couple of the characters hiking and whatnot, and they're like talking about the purges in the past, and they're like flashbacks to like when the storefronts had like these sales that were like related to the purge, and you know, people buying guns and whatnot, and they're talking about how things are better now, but there's still threats out there. And yeah, I don't know, I'm not used to it being this sunny in a purge movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, because they all took place at night, because that was when the purge was. And this one, yeah, that's a good point. Like, this one does kind of flip the visuals a little bit. And, you know, yeah, wow.
Kiyan's mind's blown.
Well, it's like, because this one was directed, it was written by James DeMonaco, who had written all of them, I believe.
Yeah, and this one was directed by Everardo Gout, who I'm not really familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, so...
Yeah, neither does James DeMonaco, I think. Oh, no, he does.
James DeMonaco does.
Can you even say you're somebody if you don't have a Wikipedia page?
No. Definitive statement right now.
Well, it's like, I kind of appreciate that, or that, like, you know, James DeMonaco maybe for this supposedly final Purge movie kind of wanted to give himself a different setting and be able to play with like different times than the traditional like 12 hours that the previous Purge movies were contained in. And yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, they don't have to confine to that 12-hour span at night anymore. It's like it could go anytime, anywhere.
It's interesting because the Purge is like a really interesting vehicle for exploring a lot of different topics, and taking it out into, you know, out of the city allowed James DeMonaco to really expand that concept as far as it could go. I mean, he's already tackled like election night and the suburbs and you know, the lower class, and now he's taking it out into the country to see how they react to the Purge and how they react to the events that have been unfolding over the past couple of movies. It really makes the universe feel more full to me.
It's kind of like how, I keep bringing this back to Star Wars, but how you want to see more than just the desert planet, or you want to see, like, more, like, different environments, and it keeps things fresh, at least in my opinion. And I don't know if you guys have the same problem I do, but I have trouble, like, retaining the names of all the characters in this particular film series. And the Forever Purge is no exception. Like, I should probably go down like the list of some of the cast members. So we got Ana de la Reguera, Josh Lucas, Tena Huerta, Levin Rambin, Will Patton, and Cassidy Freeman. Hopefully I pronounced all of them correctly, but yeah, like I'm not very familiar with them really, except maybe one or two, but like they're not actors that I've seen in many things, so I feel like that kind of makes it feel more relatable, I guess, seeing people in these movies who to me are not like super obvious well-known actors, if you know what I mean.
Right. And plus, kind of like what you're saying before with the, you know, the DC and the Marvel characters and all that, and also the relative lack of like product placement in this movie, combined with Blumhouse's, you know, low budget model, they kind of had to go this way, and I think it worked out. You know, they didn't really have big names, they didn't have the potential to really cast anyone huge, but I think it was for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we should be careful not to call these people like not huge names, because of, you know, of quite a few of them are actually like have performed in multiple Spanish language movies and performances, so we should try not look at this from a strictly Americentric viewpoint here.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, like without realizing it, like my whole perspective when it comes to viewing movies is limited, because I don't actively watch movies that are like outside of the American mainstream or semi-mainstream. So I mean, I looked through like the filmography of these actors, and they have been in a bunch of things. It's just that much of what they've been in is stuff that I myself haven't seen. So maybe it wasn't their intention to have actors that the people in charge thought maybe were lesser known, but I guess it was something that made me relate more by seeing actors that I was not used to seeing before, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. I think it does.
Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
I agree. I do like, though, that they cost, taking it back to the Star Wars connection, they cost unknowns in our market to get them wider exposure, which is something that I know Star Wars is well known for doing through all 3 trilogies.
Right. Should just have a purge in Star Wars while we're at it.
Well, Star Wars can take place in the same universe as anything, because it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Like, the door is open there.
I'd actually like to see a Star Wars purge.
Like on Coruscant.
No, jeez. Can you imagine?
The Mos Eisley purge.
The purge, but with Sith Lords.
The Sith Purge.
Yeah, I mean, the extinction of the Jedi was called the Great Jedi Purge.
They should make a movie about that and just call it that and then confuse everyone. Or just make a movie about that, name it that, and actually make it a crossover between the 2 franchises. That would really be the greatest crossover of all time.
I mean, it's 2 different IPs from different companies, so yeah.
Would be genius.
Yeah, Platinum Dunes is also involved with the Purge movies, and like they're well known for like remakes of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th, which I thought were good, and Nightmare on Elm Street, which I thought was bad. But they also did A Quiet Place Parts 1 and 2, which like throw back to the first episode of this podcast, which covered A Quiet Place Part 2, I guess.
Yeah, they also produced the live-action Dora the Explorer.
What?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
What?
Did they?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I know Dora
that one.
Dora is Paramount, so
Yeah.
like there could be a connection there, but let me check.
I'm gonna have to live fact check that one.
I know Platinum Dunes did the live action Ninja Turtles from like several years ago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they did a couple of live-action Ninja Turtles. Oh, I guess they didn't. I don't see it on their list.
I don't see it on the Dora and the Lost City of Gold Wikipedia page either.
Damn, where did I get that from?
You were lied to, Kiyan, and then you tried to spread lies on this podcast.
Darn. No.
Yeah, Kiyan, don't you know we try to be truthful on this podcast? How dare you?
Yeah, I need to stop. I was in the mindset of, me and Dylan's podcast where we just lie through our teeth.
Okay, whoa.
Oh, wait, you don't
the
do
impression that we just lie for 2 hours straight on our podcast.
There's a huge expose here.
I mean, wait, what? Who said that?
Look, Kiyan speaks for himself and not for both of us. If you listen to our podcasts, Kiyan's lying for the entire hour and a half, and I'm telling the truth. It's like that riddle where one person always lies and one tells the truth, and you have to figure out who's who.
Like in Labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, here's the thing I've always thought, well, not always, but as long as I've known about it, was weird, is like, on your Twitter, Dylan, you said, my views are my own and not the views of the podcast. So it's like, are Kiyan's views the views of the podcast, or is the podcast itself just sentient?
Well, I think the podcast exists in its own kind of realm. I think the reason why I put that on my Twitter is because I talk about politics on my Twitter sometimes, and I don't want to be seen as talking for both myself and Kiyan when I do that.
Right, because I remember thinking it was weird how, like, for, like, this DC Universe talk show called DC Daily, they would say the views expressed by the people on the show do not reflect the views of DC and DC Entertainment or whatever, but it's like, how do you define the views of a company if, like, lots of people within the company can have different views? It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that line in and of itself is how you're allowed to define that people in the company can have different views. Because without something like that, you might imply that someone speaking their own views through an official channel like that speaks for everyone in the company when they don't. I don't think necessarily that it's a topic of like, well, the company has its own view. I think it's more of like including that allows everybody in the company to have their own views.
I think it's also a disclaimer against, you're watching some DVD commentary, someone drops a hot take, and all of a sudden, what Warner Brothers is in hot water for that, and if someone
Warner Brothers, open up.
If someone says they like Stargazy Pie on recording, you don't want to be connected to that person, okay? Stargazy Pie, not just found out, but was just reminded, is this British pie with like fish baked into, like whole fish sticking out of it.
I've been making pies recently, good pies, and like the revelation of Stargazy Pie to me by Kiyan completely turned me off to pies. Like, it's making me completely reconsider my weekly tradition.
You're welcome.
I never said thank you.
You implied it with all of that, It was all baked in, like the fish.
Damn it.
Speaking of baking,
God, I know where
the
this is going.
characters also make like this kale cake and like these brownies. It's like, I remember like wishing, like while watching this movie in the theater, that I had gotten snacks from the stand beforehand, but I didn't want to leave because like I didn't want to like miss anything important.
I mean, okay, well, this was an edge of your seat moment, so I totally understand that you wouldn't want to leave, because like I was totally surprised when that they had the giant kale cake and the stripper burst out of it and just started slashing people to death like that. and that got me, like, yeah.
Purgers can be anywhere, and that's like, this movie drives home that point.
I think we've seen enough movies and television to know that when you see a giant cake, either someone's coming out of it or something is coming out of it, I get that it was supposed to be this tense moment, but for me, I was just watching like, I know exactly what's going to happen here. And then it did, and then we got this horrific violence, and honestly, that was the part that tripped me up more than the guy coming out of the cake. I was more like, oh, geez, this guy's really tearing them to bits.
Yeah, I actually thought it was unintentional funny when, like, the stripper keeps looking around the house and thinks that there's, like, another person there, slashes a person, but turns out the person is a cake and not a person.
Yeah, what did you guys think of the extreme violence of this movie? Because the other Purge movies were pretty violent, but I think this one was on a whole nother level.
It kind of reinforces the like finality of the whole thing to me. The alleged finality, I should say.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of going all out since this is supposed to be the final one. So it's like, if people criticize us, well, this is the last one anyway. And so you get like these very graphic, violent moments, but you also get like disgusting moments, like when one of the characters saw one of the dead bodies at one point that was killed by one of the purgers, and he projectile vomits, and it was like super disgusting. And like afterward, he says this lame joke where he's like, "I guess I projectile vomited."
Yeah, I could do nothing but groan in the theater when that happened.
Yeah, but I feel like they tried to balance all of that out with the beautiful scenery of like sunset cliffs and the beach or whatever. But of course, like the characters on that hike, they get injured accidentally, and so it takes them longer to try to like get home, and so like night falls for them, and it gets more dangerous when like purgers arrive like in the area, and they're like trying to like drown people and whatnot, and it's just like super intense and scary. It's like, you thought that Jaws made you not want to go in the water. This is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, that long sequence of someone getting their head pushed underwater and drowned, like, yeah, that was fun. By fun, I mean not fun.
I mean, for us, it's almost Halloween time, so it's like bobbing for apples, you know?
Oh my God.
Oh, thanks for putting that image in my mind. just bobbing for apples, but bobbing for heads. I mean, I think they did a good job of like balancing the violence with the aesthetic location, so to speak, and I kind of feel like that made the message of the movie a lot stronger, since you got such a dichotomy between like the natural beauty of nature, and then the like banality of the human condition, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's like night and day.
Literally.
Yeah.
I was gonna come up with like some other contrasting thing, but I wasn't sure what to go with. Cactus and vanilla. I don't know.
Look, I'll have you know, in the words of Kiyan, 2016, when we started the podcast, I'll have you know that vanilla is a very robust and interesting flavor, end quote.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I'm saying cactus is the opposite of that.
You're saying cactus is not? Well, I'll have you know that cactus is a very robust and interesting flavor.
Well, okay, so I've eaten cactus, but I'm imagining it with, like, the needles or spikes or whatever's still on it. So...
Well, then you have to imagine the vanilla as just, like, the straight vanilla bean. You know?
I'm getting so offended about vanilla when I actually really like vanilla and don't think it should be called just a plain flavor. Like, it's great.
Well, first I was offended by the vanilla, but now I'm offended by the cactus.
Speaking of cactus, we also get like this scene in like this desert area, so you know, showcasing different environments once again. And what did you think of like what went down in that particular sequence?
Well, I really like the setup of this movie. I don't, unless like Anarchy, which again I totally forgot the event of, kind of did it this way. I don't think any other Purge movie kind of did the multiple perspectives like this, where you get like the family coming back to San Diego from the desert and not realizing that San Diego is in the middle of like a purge crisis thing, and they kind of get the, you know, the ripples of that as they're driving back.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like if you're an astronaut in space and you lose contact with Earth, and then you come back and all of a sudden it's like ruled by apes or something.
Did you just spoil the ending to
Contagion?
Damn it, I was going to watch that movie. Damn it.
Damn it, damn it, damn it.
Robot chicken.
Yeah.
I'm so happy because I'm a gummy bear. Gummy bear!
Damn, now that's been spoiled for me too. This whole podcast is just filled with spoilers.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert, listeners.
Spoiler alert, like an hour, 45
like
minutes of the podcast, great.
But, like, I feel like it should be evident by now if you're familiar with this podcast, but, you know.
Imagine if you put the spoiler ending at the spoiler warning at the end.
Oh, by the way.
3 seconds. By the way, spoilers.
But yeah, that's an hour and 5 minutes if we're including, like, our talking before the episode. But yeah.
So what did you guys think then of like how they kind of, you know, it almost, I don't know, I feel like the movie kind of drops off a bit of a cliff here, no pun intended.
Pun completely intended, admit it.
They're driving, you know, back to San Diego, whatever, and they kind of start getting swarmed by purgers, and I don't know, it just felt so cliche zombie, like, you know, really depicting the loss of humanity that the purge is causing by having them visually kind of zombie-like. And I don't know, you know, it just, I kind of was like, whatever.
I mean, I was fine with it because, like, again, I'm very forgetful with, like, some of the characters in these particular movies, but I kind of get the sense that they had most, if not all, of the purgers in this movie, like, always be masked because they want to drive home the point that a purger can be anyone or anyone can be a purger, which is why, like, you should be extra careful. Like, I don't know if that was their intention, but that's kind of the vibe that I got.
Yeah, I think that's driven home even more when like whatever his name was started just mowing them. And yeah, that's a good point actually. Like I think throughout all of these movies, the characters are not really the strong part of the movie, and they're not what people talk about. It's more just the concept and like what would I do in that situation type thing. With the exception of maybe like the first Purge, I don't know that the characters are necessarily the highlight.
I do remember there being standout characters in Anarchy, but yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes like I know we said that like this isn't just horror; it's multiple genres squished together, like its own Purge genre, I guess. But in lots of horror movies, I feel like the characters are kind of just vehicles to like show the audience like what's going on, whether it be just some random acts of like serial killing just for like the thrills like in a like slasher movie, or to like drive home a point about like, you know, racism like in Candyman or Get Out or the Purge movies, or just like the Saw movies where the basic moral is like, you know, just be a good person and Jigsaw won't target you, I guess. Just be decent to each other.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely hitting the nail on the head with that, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Speaking of hitting the nail on the head, I thought it was really graphic when like one of the Purgers got like a baseball bat and like smashed a nail into one of the characters' foreheads.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost Dark Knight style where the Joker just like pencils the guy's head. Yeah, it was oof.
Yeah, but here it lasts, it kind of goes on longer than it needs to. It's like a dozen swings or something. It's like brutal.
It's like, okay, man, he's gone. He's dead.
Well, it kind of goes back to that thing we talked about a couple minutes ago about how this one kind of took the violence to the next edge almost, and how they used that to contrast with everything else. You know, the nail in the head was, for me, the metaphorical nail in the coffin. You know, dragging this reference full circle for like my
full circle, like Doctor Who.
Was the final nail in the coffin for my like patience with the violence in this movie, because the one thing I didn't really like about this movie was how violent it was, you know.
Yeah, it kind of goes on forever, like in the title, I guess.
It is the Forever Purge, so.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, I don't know. I don't even know what my reaction to this was. I can't even remember if I was surprised or not. But when like certain parts of like, you know, the government start supporting the Purge, you know, because they see it's coming back, they see that this force is, you know, there's momentum behind this, and there's a chance to, you know, restart things.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a commentary on how not everyone in the government, it has, what's a word?
Morals.
Right, like morals are like good intentions, like it further driving home the point that there are good and bad people and everything in between pretty much everywhere. And so it's kind of like paranoia fuel in a way.
Yeah, that in a way this movie does kind of have that over, like, say, for example, the first Purge movie, like Purge 1, not the first Purge. Hate how that confusing that is, but like with the
Purge, yeah.
Yeah. With like the first one, it's like you're in this really scary situation and you're kind of wondering, it affects you because you wonder like I do, or man, like I would just die like immediately. But, like this one, there's this like, yeah, like you mentioned, there's this paranoia, there's this unsettling like undertone of like this happened and now it's not happening anymore, but the currents of it are still there and it could come back so easily and people are still not over it. People want this to happen type thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that kind of plays into the fact that this isn't like an explicit purge night necessarily. This is just kind of the last dying breaths of the purge fandom, so to speak, taking their last grasps of society.
Oh my gosh, is this a commentary on Purge fans who just take it too far?
Maybe.
Who want the Purge franchise to keep going on forever, and want the characters of the Purge universe to keep suffering because of it? Oh man, are we really what's keeping the Purge going and what's keeping like these people's lives miserable?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of an element of that. Like the people who keep the Purge going are the ones who play into the theming and the actual structure of the Purge. You know, are the ones that keep it going every year.
If you think about it, if you contribute to the box office success of a Purge movie, you're essentially contributing to the suffering of the fictional characters in the Purge movies.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And in a way, like you're paying to see people get brutally killed and be put into horrific situations. So, you know, I mean, I mean, in a way, that's the Purge is designed to like let people vent for 12 hours a year, and in a way, these movies are kind of designed to do that for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's kind of like playing Grand Theft Auto games and just like going on a random rampage just to let it all out.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't even think of that until now. Boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy.
So how will we, the audience, purge with the Purge franchise done, theoretically?
Well, I don't know about you two, but after this was done, I wanted to watch some Winnie the Pooh or like, you know, something. I just needed to purge the violence and the hatred and
Winnie the Purge.
the Purge 100 Acre Wood.
Oh, jeez.
Eeyore finally snaps.
Jeez, whoa. Whoa now. Whoa now.
So, how'd you guys think of how this movie climaxed and then wrapped up?
Well, I was surprised at how quickly it just kind of ended, you know, once we got the climax, and then it was like, well, we're done now.
Such is life.
Perhaps that's a commentary on how the Purge just, like, ended, you know? After 20 years, it was just like, well, we're done now, no more Purge.
Well, it kind of also spoke to, like, how nowadays, from any problem, big to small, people just cordon it off and try and forget about it, you know? Them quarantining San Diego and building that barrier wall, like, I don't know, man. Is that really the way to deal with this? Like, and just have this apocalyptic wasteland in the middle of your country? It almost reminded me of Escape from New York, when they just turned New York into a maximum security prison and just sort of like, yeah, just lawless, you know, good luck.
I mean, maybe this is a prequel, you know, maybe that's the revelation here, is that New York was also turned into some vestige quarantine society.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do overcome the Purgers in this movie, and they have, like, this monologue of how, like, even though it might be impossible to completely wipe out or put an end to, like, all the people who support the Purge, there will still be good people around who are willing to fight the fight and, like, try to, like, defend against this type of nonsense. Like, they obviously say it in better words than I did just now, but yeah, like, I guess that's like the whole moral of the thing, is even if you can't put an end to these beliefs forever, like, there'll still be people who will, like, try to do what is right because it's kind, because it's decent, you know?
It was definitely a good message. To me, it felt so at odds with everything we'd just seen.
All the violence. Like, it did come out of left field, like, just right after all the violence.
But that was what was great about this movie, was just the constant dichotomy between massive violence and everything else. You know, the violence would start and end as quickly as just a single scene change. You know, you'd be watching a guy getting his head impaled on a cactus, and then the next scene, the happy family eating dinner at a table. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like, you know, if you want to critique something in society, like through a movie or, you know, any form of story, like a, you know, novel or whatever, like in some way, the most effective, like, if you're going to if you're wanting to do that effectively, like on some level, you're going to have to aestheticize it. So from that point of view, I can kind of understand.
Yeah. This is a tangent, but have you guys ever seen that Rick and Morty episode, Look Who's Purging Now?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, I've never watched that show. That's not true. I've watched a few episodes.
You watched a few episodes, and then we were talking about it, and you were like, you know, I watched a few episodes, and then I realized, why am I doing this? I hate this show.
I said that? I don't remember that.
I remember this quite distinctly because I remember that line just being so funny to me because it's just so full on and also hilarious.
Yeah, I remember Kiyan saying at some point that he wasn't into Rick and Morty.
Yeah, not a great show in my opinion.
You don't think so?
No, just, I don't know. Nothing about it was good to me. From you know, the look of it, to the jokes they were telling, to the characters.
Well, like, which episodes did you see?
I watched the one where it was like the Inception one where they go into, is it Morty, the kid? They go into his dreams or something? Or they go into other people's dreams? I don't remember. I watched that one, and then I watched like one other one, I don't remember what.
Oh, see, that's like an early season 1. I feel like it doesn't hit its stride until like the Meeseeks episode, and then Love Rick Potion number 9 or whatever it's called, and like the weighty ending of that. And in terms of just hilarity, I highly suggest like Interdimensional Cable and Total Recall. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty.
Wow, Steven. Wow.
The humor is extremely subtle and without a solid grasp of theoretical physics. Mostly. No. That's just that whole copypasta thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a meme, right?
Yeah. I like to revise that copypasta to apply it to other fandoms. So, like, for example, like Community or something like that.
Purge, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to appreciate the Purge.
It's more like, to be fair, you have to have a very high violence quotient to be a fan of the Purge.
I'm smirking right now just imagining one of those addle-pated simpletons scratching their heads in confusion as James DeMonica's genius wit unfolds itself on their screens.
You know way too much of this copypasta.
Well, I'm looking at it right now, which is why, like, I don't have it memorized.
Oh, thank goodness.
Darn.
I was going to say, you just had these memorized. I was like, whoa.
I mean, I could try to, but, like, I don't know. I feel like I'd probably, like, just purge it from my mind right after.
This has nothing to do with the movies now, but isn't purging, like, also a term used for, I forget what the actual word for it is, that eating disorder where you, like, eat a ton and then vomit it all up?
Yes.
Maybe when they inevitably reboot the Purge franchise, they can make it about that instead.
Listeners, do not purge. That's bad.
It's bulimia. That's what it was. I think.
Yeah, I did know about that, yeah.
Zoinks.
'Cause it's terror time again.
Whoa.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
So I'm kind of just going through our little notes document, and we have, I guess at this point, what makes this Purge movie similar and different from the others. I know we kind of hit on some of that, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's more violent and disgusting to the point where it's like kind of off-putting, but it kind of feels like unfortunate because it's like they're going out on a bit of a whimper. Because like I've seen the other movies, and even if I'm not like a super fan of the Purge movies, like I know that like they can do better than this. Like they did change up the environments, which I appreciated, but you know, for a finale, I'm not sure if it was like the best possible finale they could have done.
I would have to agree. I still think the first Purge kind of had more tense scenes. Like I distinctly remember the scene in the first Purge where they're blockading themselves into the little apartment or whatever. And this movie really didn't have anything as like pulse pounding as that, I would say. So for me, like I think that's kind of what I wanted out of it, and get that. So.
Yeah, I think I would still put this right above Election Year, but definitely below the first Purge.
Yeah, I'd probably put it in the same place, you know. It wasn't the greatest ending, but at the same time, there were definitely worse things they could have done with it. So, you know, given that aspect, I have to say I'm impressed they didn't just, that at least they, like, tried to make a message with the whole thing. You know, they could have just done the gory violence and then nothing else, but...
Right.
I am overall impressed by this franchise, how they created these 5 fairly distinct movies out of this one concept, and none of them are like awful. They're not the greatest movies in the world, but they're solid, I guess.
As opposed to Liquid or Gas, or
Yeah, they're gaseous.
what's the fourth one? Shoot.
What, like non-Newtonium?
Plasma.
Plasma.
Plasma. All right, so oh, go ahead.
No, never mind. I was just gonna make a stupid joke. It's fine.
Oh, do it.
Well, Dylan probably knows, but what's that form of matter that is a liquid, but then like when you touch it, it becomes like really sticky and like turns into a salt? I don't know.
It's a non-Newtonian fluid.
Yeah.
It's still a liquid, it just acts weird.
I saw a cooking video where a guy accidentally created one, and every time he went to stir the thing he was making, it would get all like hard to stir, and he'd be like, "What the heck? Like, what's going on?" And, yeah, people in the comments were like, "Dude, you just created a non-Newtonian fluid."
Was this one of Dylan's cooking videos?
No, it was oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Oh, it was Cooking with Jack. Who's this? I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it's this. I mean, the guy's been doing it since like 2007. It's this cooking show on YouTube that you have to see to believe. But hey, I know I've told Dylan about it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe you have.
Huh. I might have to link this in the show notes. Okay, yeah, these videos look like something. So yeah, I'll definitely have to watch these, but I'll probably have to like eat something while watching them.
You might lose your appetite there, but
yeah, I wouldn't recommend attempting his recipes either.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Even if you don't link this specific one in the notes, I'll send you guys probably the best one that I've seen from him, which is yeah, you really have to see this to believe it. Hey.
Does he actually cook in these videos, or does he just talk?
No, he cooks.
Okay.
Yeah, but Kiyan's like tacitly leaving off what he cooks.
You should check out those Tim and Eric cooking videos.
No thanks.
Have you seen those?
I've heard of them, and that's enough for me.
You're pretty funny.
Don't know about that.
I haven't heard of these. I'll have to look them up. Yeah.
We'll link it in the show notes. All right, so I guess we kind of touched on it, but we could go into final thoughts and score out of 10. So I guess we'll start with Dylan. What are your final thoughts and score out of 10 for the Forever Purge?
Well, you know, the Purge will forever have a place in my heart. And for that reason, I give this a solid 6.6 deaths out of 10.
Yeah, I have kind of wondered if like we should use specific units of measurement on this show, but it's been like too deep into the podcast for me to like commit to it. So
Well,
Yeah,
I just
that's-
committed to it right now, so
All right, we'll have to might have to do that every now and then. Now.
I'd be willing to die 6.6 times to watch this movie. Out of 10. Out of a possible 10.
All right, Kiyan, what are your final thoughts and unit of measurement and score out of 10 for this movie?
Well, this is a middle of the road Purge movie for me, and pretty much all the Purge movies are middle of the road, I would say. So this is really the middle of the middle. It's fairly average, but there are some parts of it that just put me off. So I'm going to give it a 4 ever out of 10.
What, a 4 ever out of 10 ever?
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, if the first Purge had been called Purge 0, they could have called this one Forever Purge.
Jeez.
So, I guess my unit of measurement will be... Let's see, what do I want it to be? This is so dumb.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just if my unit of measurements will be projectile vomit moments. Yeah, this one was definitely middle of the road. Yeah, it could have been much better, but like there's like so much violence, and like violence in horror movies doesn't usually faze me, but I could see how it like might look super disgusting or off-putting to lots of people. So my score would be like 6.5 out of their projectile vomits.
Yeah, you two were a little generous with this. I mean, I
Well,
think we all
you-
thought it was average, but just I was on the lower side of average.
Yeah, but I've also seen an ungodly amount of terrible movies, so my scale is probably calibrated a little differently than yours.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of 50s movies recently, and
Me too.
They're pretty. Most of them are pretty awful.
Neverending Story 3 is pretty bad. I've
That's
been
true.
meaning to say that on this podcast for a while, but I just keep forgetting. But yeah, it's
I
easily
finally watched
3 out of 10.
The Forbidden Planet. I don't know if you've got around to that one yet, Kiyan.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. That
Oh,
was
I've
good.
seen that one.
I like that movie.
Oh, that movie was so boring.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like somewhere in between you guys. Like it had good moments, but it was also like really boring.
I thought the special effects were incredibly impressive, but I thought the movie as a whole was just so dull.
That's the one with the monster from the id, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Watch it
Alright.
again, my friend.
I remember there was also a tiger in it, right?
Yeah, Disney Tiger.
Yes. Yeah. There was a tiger. In the
Yep.
weird, like, biodome.
Oh, yeah, and that was the real tiger. I forgot about that. And then there was like the weird, like, animated like creature thing that kind of looked like a tiger, maybe.
Well, that's because the animation was done by, like, Walt Disney animators, if I remember correctly, from the
Yeah.
TCM host intro that I watched before watching the movie. Thanks, Ben Mankiewicz.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, without the Forbidden Planet, we might not have had Star Trek, because like I hear it's like one of the influences for Star Trek.
That wouldn't surprise me. That probably would explain why the first, couple seasons of Star Trek are also really boring.
Zoiks.
And that might be a hot take, but yeah, I'm gonna stand by it.
The views do not reflect the views of this podcast.
Yeah, see, now you have to say it. See? You're like, oh geez, what have I done?
But yeah, I mean, this was a good movie for us to talk about. I mean, like me and Kiyan talked about Minions: The Rise of Gru, which, like this movie, was also distributed by Universal, I think. So, like, they were right at it back in July with both of those movies. And, Much like Jungle Cruise, which I talked about with Dylan, this movie was somewhat of a ride.
Yeah, but I liked Jungle Cruise better than this one because Jungle Cruise was just fun and just wild. And I appreciated that.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to remember what score I gave Jungle Cruise. Was that also a 6.5 for me? I think
I'm just gonna tell you right now, I genuinely have absolutely no recollection of like what score I gave Jungle Cruise.
I think you gave it like a 7 or something.
That makes sense.
But I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'll like correct it in the show notes.
That sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, 7 jungles out of Cruise.
7 jungle juices out of 10 Tom Cruises.
6.5 rocks out of a boulder. I don't know.
six Dwaynes out of the rock.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks again for being on this episode, guys. Where can people find your stuff? And you have to make sure you plug it like by talking at the same time and being in sync.
Okay, well, you can find all of our episodes at en.wikipedia.org/volcano emoji. Oh, no, sorry. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/volcano emoji.
Well, it has to be volcano underscore emoji, right?
No, it just literally has to be the volcano emoji.
Yeah, it'll take you right there.
No, but for real, you can find us at decorativevegetable.com. I'm on Twitter at Spaceman Dylan. The podcast is on Twitter at TYD Podcast. What am I forgetting? Kiyan.
And it's on Facebook. You can find us at Trust Your Doctor on Facebook, so it's there. The Facebook page is just literally a feed of the podcast episodes, so if you actually want to see just the dumb stuff that I post and memes and stuff, that's all on Twitter.
Purge your doctor. Yeah, no.
Purge your doctor.
Oh my god.
No, that makes no sense, but go on.
I was just going to say you can also find like a literal feed of the episodes just at YouTube at Decorative Vegetable.
Yeah, so go ahead and check out their podcasts. They have Trust Your Doctor, which is a Doctor Who podcast, Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast, Triple Play, the movie trilogy podcast, and Zenith, a Blake 7 podcast. So, yeah, I've gotten to the point where, like, I got kind of bored of The Prisoner after 10 episodes, so I got to a point where I'm just, like, listening to episodes of you guys talking about it, and, like, yeah, I might catch up before your guys' Fallout episode, though, because... Yeah.
In my head, I'm imagining you gauging whether or not you're going to watch the episode of The Prisoner by, like, whether or not we made a good podcast episode on it.
Well, I mean, the podcast, it's more entertaining than The Prisoner. Hot take.
Yeah, on this, I mean, I'm watching The Prisoner for the 3rd time, and, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's more entertaining than The Prisoner.
I thought it was, like, your 4th
It's
time.
not as great of a... No, it's 3rd, but, like, yeah, not as great a show as I previously considered it to be.
And as I said on the podcast, that's why I never rewatch anything I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, to me, it's, like, super weird to me that there's a lot of speculation for, like, the world of The Prisoner, but there you go. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for being on this episode. As for my plugs, you can find me at Steven Schinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Schinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can find my fantasy horror comedy novel, Lemons Look Like Rain, on Amazon. More info on that at stevenschinder.com. I'm also writing and editing for Culture Slate, which is an entertainment news site. You can find them at Culture Slate pretty much everywhere. You can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com, and we may read your thoughts on the show. And let's see if there are any emails. Oh wow, there actually is one.
Oh, shocking. We never get emails on our podcasts.
That's
I thought we were lying through our teeth for the whole time, Kiyan. I thought that was you established that precedent.
This is a weird-looking email, but I guess I'll read it. Dear Steven, I come from a universe where things are worse than your universe, it seems. I've been trying to communicate with other universes to make things better somehow, though I may not have a plan, as I'm coming up with things on the spot. Anyway, I intercepted your podcast, and I feel like you're unaware that some interdimensional beings are tampering with your podcast intro and ending, and also said they'd be building some amusement park in your mind. They're called the Can of Worms, apparently. I'm trying to see how I can help, but I'm warning you to be cautious. Stay safe, Steven Schinder from another universe. That's weird.
Remember earlier when you said all podcasts are technically in the same, like, cinematic universe? Does that include podcasts from alternate dimensions?
Apparently. I mean, right?
I mean, if this email is any indication, I think the question is, will this alternate Steven reach out with information about his alternate universe podcast and what podcast he has in the alternate universe? And perhaps we can use the power of podcasting prowess to cross over the universes.
I mean, does he even have a podcast is what I'm wondering. Like, what
That's
is
true.
so worse about his universe? I'm curious.
Maybe it's the fact that he doesn't have a podcast that makes it worse. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's the lack of existence of this podcast in that universe that just sent that universe down like a dark hole. I guess we don't know. You know, I'm a mad scientist. I'm all for just trying to merge the universes into one for no reason and absolutely no safe purpose.
Yeah, I mean, this email is from a personal email of mine, but I don't see anything in my sent folder, so, like, this could be legitimate. But, like, I don't know what he means about, like, the intro. I just use public domain music for the intro.
Wow, you're a lot more you're a lot more on top of copyright law than we are.
Yeah, I think I'm just, like, super paranoid in general.
Well, we use public domain music on Inevitable.
Yeah, I might just, like,
And
hum
triple play.
music or sing it.
You can get everyone who's ever
Probably.
been on your show together to sing your intro theme. We almost did that once.
Yeah, we tried. And by tried, I mean we considered it for 5 seconds, and then we're like, nah, no.
I mean, for the Star Wars Celebration episode, I was considering, like, when the idea for that one was in its early stages, I was thinking of, like, having lots of people on for one session, but it quickly became clear that that wasn't feasible, so, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, maybe there'll be, like, a new theme song for Season 2 next year, if there is a Season 2.
Never say never.
We'll just have to see what the fans and the network say. I don't know.
Cancelled.
Podcast police, open up.
Well, look, you joke, but we've had run-ins with the podcast police before. They've come after us. Just keep yourself safe. Lock your doors while you're recording. You'll be fine.
Are they like the Star Cops?
They're a little more corrupt, but yeah, generally same idea, yeah.
I'll figure out what to do about this email. But yeah, that's the end of the episode, and without further delay, have a good day.
Huh. I wonder what this email is all about. An amusement park? Can of worms? What does it all mean? He suspects something. No need to worry. We will just keep on purging his memories. Rick and Morty. Their inception techniques and anatomy park are nothing compared to our amusement park. Yes, with its roller coaster, the spiky Ferris wheels, and tilt-a-whirls, which are sure to disorient his mind. We are engineering Steven Schinder into becoming something else.